Down the interstate he saw, till the day he tangled with the county sheriff, who they all call 104. The old man didn't think it very humorous, and you know he didn't like to get sassed, cause just that morning he had a cup of coffee with a cop named Pendergrast. But the old man had a lot of sense, and he knew just exactly what to do. He dropped a dime in the phone till he got the dial tone, and he talked to operator 42. Operator 42, she was the best, and she gave out the description of Jake the maggot with the gang colors jacket and Petula with the 45 gun. Now it just so happens that Jake, he was headed for 522, where 104 was popped in the shade, thinking, baby, I'm waiting for you. Jake laughed and thought he had it made, but you should have seen the look in his eyes when outside Monroe on 522, you know he got one hell of a surprise. Cause up ahead on the roadway, with a shotgun looking down the ball, was Sergeant Nichols with his finger on the trigger in the infamous 104. It was then the chase that had started, but Jake didn't think it very fun when it felt the blast at the spokes of his wheels from 104 shotgun. Chase got into full gear as they went over valley and rise. They were over ditches and barbed wire fences, and Jake kept hitting cow pies. Then just ahead on the I-5 junction where the back roads ended in a hump, Chase was over in a field of clover as Jake's back hit a stump. Yes, friends, there was Jake, or should I say what was left of him.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
Night Dreams Talk Radio Network brings you the World Paranormal News with James Creechbaum. Now, the latest news.
I'm James Creechbaum with Paranormal and World Changes News. Chinese scientists invent a robotic worm that will burrow into your brain. Once you consume them, they can move throughout your body, your eyes, your tissues, and most commonly your brain. They leave doctors puzzled in their wake as they migrate and settle to feed on the body they're invading. A classic parasite, but this one can get into your head. A not bot, not beast. Scientists create first ever living programmable organism. Now, a remarkable combination of artificial intelligence and biology has produced the world's first living robots. This week, a research team of roboticists and scientists published their recipe for making a new life form called xenobots from stem cells. The term xeno comes from the frog cells used to make them. One of the researchers described the creation as neither a traditional robot nor a known species of animal, but a new class of artifact, a living programmable organism. Xenobots are less than 1 millimeter long and made of 500 to 1,000 living cells. Scientists determined Earth's oldest impact crater is 2.2 billion years old. Scientists have determined that the Earth's oldest asteroid crater, the year above a crater, happened 2.229 billion years ago. The crater, which is located between Sandstone and Mikahara in the Western Australia outback, measures 43 miles wide. That is huge. A video shows a ghost watching a man sleeping. A peculiar video, which shows an eerie figure staring at a man through a window, has recently gone viral on the internet. Interdimensional entities are visiting us, confirms the FBI. According to a released document from the FBI archives, these so-called interdimensional entities have been visiting us for a long time and have taken precautions not to be seen in our visual spectrum, and the only way they were detected in the first place is through infrared cameras. Elusive thief lives in a grocery store ceiling. Cops in Auburn have been struggling to catch a thief who lives in the rafters of a very store he keeps robbing. Employees at the store were alerted to the elusive robber's presence following multiple instances of theft and the sounds of footsteps in the ceiling. One worker even reported seeing a pair of legs dangling from the roof of a supply closet. And despite the best efforts, the local police, however, have not caught the culprit. He's at large. Next news break, top of the hour.
You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
Well, I am back. I hope everybody's having a great evening. I don't know. We got a problem. We can't get a hold of one of the guests, so we're going to try getting a hold of the other guests here, and hopefully we can get Ray on here tonight. I don't know what's going on here, but we'll find out here very, very fastly.
Try to connect you.
Guess what? I can't get a hold of Ray either. Well, let's see. We'll find out. One of those interesting nights, James.
I know, it's scary.
Hello?
Well, hi. Is this Ray?
It is?
Yeah, this is Gary from Night Dreams Talk Radio. How you doing?
Fabulous. How about yourself?
Well, we weren't able to get a hold of Victoria.
Are we off the air?
Oh, we're on the air. I mean, we've been on the air since 6 o'clock. It's 7:05 now. Yeah, we just tried my news.
Why don't I send you an email with her phone number?
Well, I have her phone number.
Okay. Can I ask you, do the last two digits end in 16?
James, did it end in 16?
17.
17.
That's your problem.
Okay, because that's the number we got from you. It was 17.
Okay. Try the last four numbers, which should be 5616.
You want to give that a try, James?
Yeah, I'll try that right now.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. If you got a 7 from me, that's my bad. I should have resent it to you today.
Okay. Well, I always get nervous because, the radio, we're on a lot of radio stations. So I start getting nervous when, things, don't, work out because it's really hard to get a guest at the last moment.
I've got a text from her. I'm going to text her while we're talking and tell her that actually I won't bother her because she goes, he hasn't called me yet. Check the number.
Okay, well, James is trying to get a hold of her now, and he'll call back as soon as he gets a hold of her. Well, why don't you tell the listeners, Ray, a little bit about yourself?
Let's see. The important parts are that I worked at the legendary Wright-Patterson Air Force Base for 38 years and 9 months. I like to round it up to 4 decades. Makes it easier to talk about. And when I left there as a senior engineer.
Interesting. Well, the time. Go ahead.
One of the most interesting parts of all that was that during my very first week there as a cooperative education student from the University of Detroit, my mentor said, "Hey, let's go cross the building through this hangar. We'll take you to the cantina, the greasy spoon, all these derogatory names. I want to buy you a candy bar, kind of a welcoming gift." So we step into this hangar, which was dirty, empty, about 200 feet long, and it hadn't been repurposed for the 100th time yet. And he turns to me and said, "Have you heard about our aliens?"
Interesting. And
so that's when it all started for me.
Well, when he said, "Well, have you heard about the aliens?" what did you do?
Well, I looked at him like the deer in the headlights, and we had a conversation, and it kind of went, "Well, what are you talking about?" He said, "Well, there was a crash out west, and they brought the aliens and their machines here for evaluation." And I said, "Well, where are these things?" And he said, "Well, they're in the tunnels." And I was like, "We have tunnels?" And he goes, "Well, yeah." I said, "Well, can we go see these?" aliens and their machines in the tunnels. And he goes, well, no, we can't. Only certain people get to see them. And I said, I didn't know anything about security clearances or any of that yet. I mean, it's my first week on an Air Force base. So he went on to explain that it was a base-wide secret. And I think what he was referring to was a secret of the fact that Project Blue Book was there for 20-some years and everybody knew about it.
Interesting. Now, hey, Ray, we do have Victoria on the line. I believe, Victoria, are you there?
I sure am. I was texting Ray saying, nobody's calling me. I'm sitting right here.
Oh, yeah. My news director, James, was pulling out what little hair he has, trying to figure out why you weren't answering.
Well, I'm on the line now. Thank you so much.
Well, Victoria, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
I'm from Ohio, grew up in Ohio. I currently live in Colorado, and I've been a professional person, my whole career, and I just have these stories, these experiences from my childhood throughout my life, and they've just been stories that of things I either experienced or had in memory of, or a quote unquote dream in my mind's eye, physical markings, et cetera, and I've always had a knowing, not a belief, in the extraterrestrial presence and UFOs, and I just knew intuitively that it was real. And I met Ray in, I think it was 2013, and he just took an interest in my quote unquote random stories, as I told him, and he was really interested in writing my story, and it took him almost a year to convince me, because I just kept saying they're just a bunch of random stories, although there's validation in my stories as my journey of life has gone on. And so he convinced me when he said, it could help someone else who, is having a hard time or struggling with, their memories or experiences. And that's really what convinced me to allow him to write my story. And so we did. And I continue to get validation of things. I've had validation 50 years later from something that happened when I was a child. And so I just try and be really aware of, and not disbelieve anything, take everything seriously and see how, wow, that could be a validation for what I experienced. And, I've also done 4 hypnotic regressions with 3 of the top hypnotherapists in this genre, working with contactees. 2 by Dr. Leo Sprinkle, who is a former professor at University of Wyoming, and he's worked with contactees as early as Betty and Barney Hill. And then I worked with Barbara Lamb, who many of your listeners may have heard of. And then lastly, I worked with Yvonne Smith. And it helped me uncover some things. And all of my regressions stemmed from conscious experiences that I wanted to elaborate on and kind of dig down into what really happened. Because there were a lot of missing pieces. There were a lot of memories. There were a lot of physical and other evidence. But, I'm just still tying it all together. And Ray actually did a really beautiful job in helping me, start on that journey for myself. And one of the biggest things that Ray discovered, I told him that, my mother, both my mother and my brother, but my mother was very ill as a child. And I said to Ray, she worked at a place with the name lead, or the word lead in it. Wonder if it had anything to do with her illness. And, come to find out, that she actually worked at this facility that was spewing out